In this videotape, we see the technician is having a problem getting the needle into Dr. Schneeberger's arm. After he leaves the office, the technician has a quizzical look on her face. There is something very odd about the blood. In fact, the technician felt there was not enough viable blood this time to test for DNA. There was still no way to prove that Dr. Schneeberger had done anything wrong, but this would change dramatically. Just as police were about to ask for another blood test, suddenly the doctor's wife, Lisa Schneeberger, came to police and accused the doctor of raping her 13-year-old daughter.
The sexual assaults ranged from digital penetration, oral intercourse, right through to penile penetration or rape. She alleged on many occasions, especially in the latter years, she had been given a drug that seemed to act like Versed or midazolam, that seemed to make her drowsy, in fact, go to sleep, pass out. And she was very concerned that she had been sexually assaulted after being given this drug because she retained fleeting memories of sexual incidents with the doctor.
So you can face Phil there a bit. That's good, right there.
The prosecution, now provided with a court order, forced Dr. Schneeberger to be tested again. Only this time the DNA tests would be more extensive.
He was required to surrender hair samples, samples of the cells on the inside of your mouth, and also a blood sample. We took the blood from the tip of one of his fingers on his right hand. All of those samples were sent away, and we received word from the crime lab in January of 1998 that in fact there was a match. The DNA profile of the samples that were taken under warrant matched the DNA profile of the semen that was found on the patient's panties.
6 months later, the good country doctor, John Schneeberger, went on trial for rape.
He's charged with aggravated sexual assault on the second complainant. The maximum penalty for that is life imprisonment. He's charged with 2 counts of administering a noxious substance to commit an indictable offense. Maximum penalty is life imprisonment on each. He's charged with 1 count of obstruction of justice. Maximum penalty on that is 10 years. And he's charged with 1 count of sexual assault, and the maximum is 10 years, I believe, on that as well.
It was in court that the doctor was forced to confess to how he almost got away with raping one young woman and his 13-year-old stepdaughter, and how he managed to fool DNA technicians for 7 years.
The doctor had been very clever. He had saved some of the blood from one of his patients, knowing that someday he might be asked to give blood for a test. He took that blood and placed it into a thin tube about 6 inches long, like this tube, and surgically inserted that tube into his arm, under the skin, right next to the vein. So whenever he was tested, the blood was being withdrawn from the tube and not from his vein, and the police were getting somebody else's blood.
Candace was present in the courtroom and found out what had happened for the first time.
When he started explaining it in the courtroom, I swallowed my breath. I thought I was going to have a panic attack. Like he did surgery on himself. It was gross. And I just sat there as he was explaining how he cut his arm, and oh, yuck. Like, you really are. You're crazy.
In 1999, John Schneeberger was convicted of rape and subsequently lost his license to practice medicine. Despite this, many in the town of Kipling still stood by him.
I still feel the same way. I still think that John is not guilty.
I'd go to him tomorrow if he was back here. So would my whole family.
Although Dr. Schneeberger was facing life imprisonment, The judge gave him only 6 years. Why he got such a light sentence remains unanswered.